How's it going? Welcome back to a very nostalgic video for me today. And this is just something I'm just so happy to talk about. I'm not sure if many people are going to be interested in this video, but I am. And if you're like me and you loved Fable growing up, if that was one of your first RPG experiences like it was for me, then you as well can understand just how excited I am for the new Fable game.
I mean, sure, you get your mega fans,
You are like literally my favourite person.
your haters,
It's like a fan club, but we hate you.
your chancers, and the occasional giant toad, for some reason. But it's more than that. It's about the choices you make.
I'm a hero. I should do what I want.
We thought you could save her.
You know, it's your life and death stuff. That's what defines you, isn't it? Really stays with you.
Hands.
Jez, you need to come and get me.
What's up, man?
I've accidentally run to Windsor.
What?
Yeah, I've mistakenly run to Windsor.
But that's like in Scotland or something, isn't it?
I didn't mean to. It's just the endorphins kicked in and I couldn't stop.
So today I'm going to be going back and looking back at Fable, The Lost Chapters, because that was the best one. That's the one we're going to focus on today. Fable, The Lost Chapters in 2024. So for people who have never played Fable and want to know what this game is about before the new Fable comes out next year, or for people who want, you know, a reminder, for people who want to analyze what made this game great, we're going to go into some pretty hefty detail here, not just on the game, but on its philosophical themes and ideas around morality, and just talk about the gameplay systems. Fable The Lost Chapters is such a special game, and that was my first proper true RPG experience, I'll be honest, but just when you compare it to even new RPG games coming out today, it still has so many unique ideas that are just completely lost in modern day gaming, which is so sad. Fable was and is just a magical game, okay? It's such a unique twist on fantasy games, and nothing has ever replicated Fable. The soundtrack, my god, okay? I listen to this pretty much any time I want to zen out. I don't know if it's made by the universal frequencies, you know, 432 hertz or whatever the hell it is. There's just something so soothing about it, so calming, and maybe that is nostalgia, but I just have to pay respect to the OST. The sound work here was just phenomenal, and just the music in Fable has always been this grandiose feeling like God is shining a goddamn flashlight on you, and then having these quiet moment tracks where you reflect within nature and all that kind of good stuff. I love Fable, okay? I love it. It's so crazy that it looks like this, okay? Like how much has changed. Makes me feel like a goddamn old man. By the way, I'm making this video on my birthday. That's maybe why I feel like an old man. I just wanted to talk about something I care deeply about and talk more of its, you know, philosophical themes now that I've grown up and I can analyze that kind of thing. So if you are feeling charitable, perhaps consider dropping a small donation. I would appreciate it a lot to support the show. And if you're new, make sure that you do subscribe, join the Wise One community. If you like analyzing games, game reviews, and philosophical content, you're in the right place. Subscribe, become a Wise One. I'm so passionate about this community and what we're doing here. I love the content that we're making, and just seeing, you know, the community grow. It's just so humbling, and I love it so much. And join the live streams. I live stream pretty much every day now. So let's just get deep into this. Let's analyze Fable, and let me give you my Fable The Lost Chapters 2024 review and the philosophy of Fable.
You great big Balverin turd.
So now let's get into something that probably no one else has discussed on YouTube, because they're not insane like I am trying to analyze games in such crazy ways trying to draw parallels with real world philosophies, but I think Fable, one thing that you can't deny about this game, okay, is it draws heavily from the philosophy of deontology, okay? The philosopher Immanuel Kant, okay? Basically, the philosophy of deontology is, it can basically be boiled down to simplistic ways of looking at morality, but with a more metaphysical lens, because it aligns with my own personal philosophy of like a dualist state of existence, the metaphysical and the objective reality. And Fable, because it's a magical world and the idea of will and magic within the Fable universe makes perfect sense, that basically morality isn't, you know, created by human beings and our consciousness or a society. Of course, it can be shaped by those, you know, influences, but good and evil, the natural law, okay, it kind of draws a little bit from natural philosophy as well. Basically is there is universal morality. Most animals of intelligence, for example dogs or cats, you don't just see them, you know, attacking everything unless if they're hunting. The same goes for a human being. You know, we know innately within us not to steal or hurt other people. I'm not talking about, you know, basic desires like, you know, hunting for food and stuff like that. I'm talking about the morality of doing harm to another, okay, and what that implication means. And it makes perfect sense within the context of Fable, because you are literally destroying nature by going against your, you know, natural philosophy, by going against the universal karmic system of that, you know, good and evil. For example, if you do evil actions in Fable, like I said, it will impact how characters, how NPCs react to you in the world. They will flee in terror from you. You will become this deformed monster, this creature with, you know, horrible devil horns, and basically no one will like you for good reason, and you are basically defiling your nature. And it highlights this very simplistically with, you know, the Temple of Light and the Temple of Dark, okay? As human beings, we should know what is good and what is bad, even though that is just a judgment that we perceive, and we can choose how we perceive that judgment. But in the greater society, in the greater context of a society, we should know that, and it goes deeper than that because it's talking about the fundamental nature of existence. You should know fundamentally, you know, what is right and what is wrong. You don't even have to use those words to define it, but it's basically a way of acting that is, you know, in harmony with the universal law. And it's quite simple, but it can be complicated. Depends how much you want to analyze it, I guess. Instead of looking at the consequences of an action to see if it's, you know, within the greater good or the greater bad, for example, the philosophy of deontology, for example, breaks it down at looking at the actions. You know, when these thoughts arise and when they become actions, if the action itself is pure or if it's, you know, against nature. So a little bit of backstory, okay? I was a young wee little lad, okay, and, you know, I'm British, if you don't know, so having a game with a British sense of humor is a very rare thing to find in gaming, okay? You know, even modern day games, it's a super rare thing to find, and Fable made me feel like I had come home, you know? It's that charming kind of English humor of self-hatred and deprecation, but with a little bit of, you know, that kind of charmish, kind of slapstick, childish humor, which when I was a child, of course, I loved. I could make a woman fall in love with me by completing awesome quests naked, and then, you know, just because I don't give a shit, I could go and fart on them afterwards because I'm an absolute Chad. Of course I would love this as a kid, okay? That was amazing. It allows you to become the hero that you were destined to be. Have these fans, have that admiration, and of course, as a goddamn scum of the earth YouTuber, I wanted that, okay? I wanted that ever since I was a little boy, and now look at me. Wow. It allows you to be idolized, and then to bring your fans or the people who love you, you know, perhaps you're dating this girl and you're giving her chocolates on a date, and perhaps you want to ask them to marry you, whatever it is, you can bring them out, you can hold their hand, take them over a bridge, and slaughter them, okay? Fable allows you to do that. It allows you to be a goddamn debased monster or a charming hero come to save the world of Albion. That is why Fable is a goddamn masterpiece, and it's a very And it's very shameful what happened to Fable 3, but Fable 1 and 2 are the absolute GOATs, so I will just be talking about the Lost Chapters today, Fable 1. So I do hope you enjoy this Fable The Lost Chapters 2024 review. This was a very choice-driven game, okay? And this was back when games weren't really doing that type of thing, so this was revolutionary back then. You know, a few other games were doing that because RPGs were just way better back in the day because they didn't care about chasing modern day trends like fancy photorealistic graphics or, you know, bloated open world design philosophies and bullshit to appease, you know, higher management. It was about making good quality games that were fun, that gamers wanted to make and gamers wanted to play. Very different compared to what it is now. So it wasn't the only game doing that kind of thing, but it was the only game doing the good or evil kind of route. Very, very obvious, okay? Fable is a very black and white game, but that is where its charm is. You know, you either go down the evil road or you go down the road of heroes, okay? And Fable's story, it's very simplistic. You know, you're in this fantasy setting, this world of Albion, and there are these old ancient heroes that have the ability to use will, which is a magic force. And then you can take quests. And I just love the gameplay systems in Fable. They are just so well done. So you have the choices and consequences of your actions. You know, go down the good road or go down the bad road. You can take any side quest, any little mission that you find, and then you can choose to boast about it to earn more XP and to earn more gold, for example, and do, you know, challenges like I'm going to complete this quest completely naked, or I'm going to complete this quest by not getting hit. There are bosses to be found out in the world. You have sword gameplay, you have gun gameplay or bow and arrow, and then you have the magic system. And all of this just adds so much to the game. And it's how you interact in Fable that makes it so magical. Like I said, you know, you have this interaction wheel in which you can do, you know, these over-the-top emotions, you know, kind of emotes, but in a single-player game, but they weren't cringe back then. You don't do a stupid Fortnite dance or something. Or you could do, like, a heroic pose to try and, you know, get the ladies impressed. All of this stuff made Fable so interactive. And as a kid, this was goddamn like heroin to me, okay? I played this game so much because this was the first game that really made me feel like, okay, this is why gaming is amazing. You know, I'm not just watching a story. I'm not just playing I'm not just watching a story happen. I am actually in the story. I can actually dictate what's going on and I can create the person I want to be. You know, RPGs used to be like that, not just, you know, kind of, oh, you can level up a perk point? That's an RPG, I guess. The charm of Fable, okay? Jesus Christ. Does this game have... does it ooze perfection? Does it ooze charm, okay? Yes, it does. I say it does, okay? I love it. I just love it. I know I'm probably biased. I know it's mostly nostalgia. But still, you can't deny that this game didn't do so many unique gameplay mechanics compared to modern day games. For example, there's a place where you need to pull a sword out of a stone, okay? Simple enough, right? When you go and do it, what happens? You can't actually pull it out because you don't have the strength. And it's not as simple as leveling up your strength, okay? It's how you use your actions in Fable that actually dictate change. That is such a cool, unique system that most games just don't do now. So for example, if you eat a ton of fucking pies, you're gonna be a fat ass, okay? And you will actually get bigger as a character. If you do evil actions and kill civilians when, you know, they're doing no wrong, you will get more and more disfigured. Your face will start to kind of turn this horrible, pasty, whitish, disgusting, whitish white man. Because all white men are evil. No, but you actually start to change, okay? And you will grow horns out of your goddamn face. They start off as tiny little horns, and then if you go full evil, you literally become Satan himself. That is so fucking cool, okay? That is so cool, and we never see like that, anything like that in games nowadays. If you don't eat enough, you will actually be skinny. If you get slashed with a sword, there will be a scar on your face. Such quality detail in this game, which is just impressive. Like, if you want to be a magic user, you're not going to have that super muscle body strength. And then, you know, something like this, a side little mini quest of pulling out a weapon and getting a unique weapon, you won't be able to do. The writing in Fable was always so over-the-top, goofy, but the world of Albion felt very lived in, okay? It had its proper history and lore, the kings and queens, all of this kind of stuff, and it was such a unique fantasy setting. You know, they had their own cool, unique creatures, giant wasps, balverines. You know, they even made books about this game because it was that lived in, and I just absolutely fell in love with the world of Fable, and the Lost Chapters has that magic, that sense of adventure and the unknown compared to the other games that feel a little bit more grounded. The Lost Chapters is so fantastical. Although the combat isn't as good, you'd go down very linear paths. It's not like an open world game today, but still, the Lost Chapters to me is still the best Fable game. The Trader Escort mission is a prime example of why I love Fable. So it's a simple mission, but then there gets to be more choices along the road, quite literally, okay? Basically, you're, escorting this little trader, and you're on this long, winding road through the swamps, and you actually have to stop and rest at different camps. And if you keep all of the traders alive, then you will do better in the long run. But then, as you're on this road, you come across this dark temple, okay? And at this temple, you can choose to sacrifice any NPC that you bring to that temple, and you will earn more evil karma, which makes you unlock more evil magic and evil will, which might be stronger depending on your playstyle. Or there's the Temple of Light. So small discoveries link into that one quest, and then also along that one road, when you're escorting these traders, you get ambushed by balverines, which are basically werewolves. And then you have to decide, because one of the traders get scratched or bitten by the balverine, should you leave them behind or risk taking them with you and then watching them transform into a goddamn balverine and then, maybe blow up the whole mission. Choices like that make Fable so amazing, and the level design, because it's all hand curated, it's no procedural bullshit, it's not massively open, these are, small paths in an open world game. But all of these are so well handcrafted, and such love and attention goes into them that they can curate these interesting choices and experiences that are just kind of lost in most RPGs today. When you take on different missions, for example at the Heroes Guild, you can choose to take on dark or light missions, which is pretty cool. So instead of defending a town against a group of bandits, you could actually join the bandits and then basically raid the town. And obviously that's going to give you bad karma, but like I said, it depends on what playstyle you're going for, and there's different endings as well. And I just love how the Lost Chapters is set up, okay? You literally grow up in Fable. I love games like Fallout 3, for example, Fable, the Lost Chapters, that allow you to actually grow up in the world itself. It makes you feel so much more immersed. You start off as a kid in, a small little village, and then you get basically kidnapped by the Heroes Guild as your family dies and burns, and you actually grow up and go through a child stage, a teenager stage, and then like a young adult, and then you're off to explore the world. The world building in Fable, I think not enough people gives it credit, especially compared to most games now. There are just so many small hidden mechanics in this game that are great. Of course, you could nitpick the bad design choices now, like the UI or the clunky combat, the bad lock-on, the camera, but all of this stuff doesn't really matter when you look at what this game did in context back then. You even get nicknames, NPCs recognize you based on the missions you take, the NPCs will actually call you by your nickname. Small things like that really make the world feel so organic and alive. And that's just lost, and I really hope the new Fable game managed to bring that magic back. I find Immanuel Kant and the philosophy of deontology to be very interesting, and it just fits so well within the Fable universe, okay? The arena is a great example. Basically, at the end you get a choice to basically kill your best friend growing up, who was also growing up with you in the Heroes Guild, so you do have some relationship with them, but they are so focused on being the best, topping you at every turn, so I never felt bad. about killing her. Deontology is basically looking at your actions, deciding what is good based on naturally what is good, not thinking about your own selfish implications, what's best for you, the outcomes of that, but the action itself, looking at it before it becomes anything, if the action is pure of intent. For example, saying that you will agree to something but then backing out at the last minute is immoral in the eyes of deontology, because as the Stoics would argue there is no good or bad, deontology is a little bit different because it does say that there is good and bad, but it follows the natural law, which in a sense is kind of what the Stoics say. It's just that your judgments about good and bad don't actually exist, so it's a little bit different. But I still think it's very interesting because I do feel like most humans do have innate, moral knowledge within us, even if we were like kind of brought up in a little bubble, kind of like Plato's cave, for example. If we didn't have knowledge of a moral society, we would still roughly know, what is a right action just by looking at ourselves. And deontology reinforces that because it's about understanding not doing something in harm to yourself is the same as doing, harm to others. It's a very empathetic philosophy, I would say. And it makes sense because it does follow the natural law of survival as well. And Fable just deals with it beautifully because at all of these different opportunities, you're given, chances to reach higher fame, higher levels of power and stuff like that. And it's the choice as to if you get corrupted by those influences or not. And as a kid, of course, I never thought about any of this shit. I just thought, oh, that's cool. I can be good or I can be evil. A game like Fable, The Lost Chapters, is so rare and it's so incredibly amazing that it deals with these ideas, even on a very surface level. But that's more than can be said about most games. And that is why Fable, The Lost Chapters is still a masterpiece. And then we have ideas like virtue ethics, something that Aristotle touched on, and that's, or even something like Nietzsche's Übermensch, how you build your character, creating, one of virtue, basically shaped by your actions, who you want to become, using that will to become the best version of yourself. And Fable, again, deals with that because, like I said, everything is, the gameplay systems are all shaped around your actions, down to what you eat or what you say or interact with other NPCs, how you greet them, if you choose to fart on them or swear at them or give them a kiss. All of these different things make Fable so cool, and even though you can't physically interact the world like something like in a Bethesda game, you can by interacting with all of these different gameplay elements, and I think that's a lot deeper, and we need more games like that. So those are some of the themes and ideas in Fable The Lost Chapters, and I do hope you are enjoying this Fable The Lost Chapters 2024 review, Fable The Lost Chapters retrospective analysis. This video is kind of crazy, I know, but I just wanted to talk about it because I'm excited for the new Fable game, and I think it's worth highlighting why people love Fable, the original, because a lot of people have forgotten about it. It's kind of such an old game now, which makes me feel very old, that I think a lot of people don't have any idea what this new Fable game is going to be about. And I really hope it obviously won't pay respect to all of the gameplay mechanics and ideas of the original Fable, but I hope it still keeps that identity, because of course they're not going to have that fleshed out mechanics. I wish they did, but most likely they won't, and I just hope they stay true to the identity and at least the choices of good and evil and justice, because Fable deals with justice, around every corner. If you want to take part in corrupting that social justice, or if you want to help defend it, and that shapes you as the character you want to be in Fable, that's why to me it was such an impactful game growing up, and that's how I fell in love with games, to be honest. This was a very important game to me growing up, and it still is today. Never once did I feel the game was getting boring, because the level design and the level pacing in this game is just so well done. You go to each new location, and it never feels too dragged out. There are some light puzzles, and basically each quest that you take changes the gameplay or gives you new ways to interact with the game in some way, new magic abilities, new interesting characters to meet. The story was always developing at a quite quick rate, and it always felt like you were becoming and transforming into this, evil character or hero, whatever you want it to be. So even when you even when you were doing side missions or talking to demon doors and stuff like that, solving riddles, it always felt like you were progressing. And that tight focus is just lacking in modern day gaming. Is there such thing as a greater good? You know, bad actions, but they lead to greater good. And if it's worth pursuing that ideology, that, you know, way of thinking, or that's just an excuse to do bad things. And it's very interesting because this is basically, you know, kind of a kid's game. I mean, it's not a kid's game. It was never rated a kid's game. I just played it as a kid. But it is rather juvenile with its humor. But that's what makes it so good, because if it wasn't for that kind of weird British, you know, slapstick humor, this game would be pretty dark, because you can do some pretty messed up things in this game. And I just think that it's so rare to find a game that balances humor that's not corny or cringy. I mean, yes, it's juvenile and stupid now, but in a kind of endearing way. It's not trying to be preachy with its messaging, and then it allows the drama moments to, you know, be impactful and to actually have that weight and drama into it. It doesn't, you know, cut to a quick joke like most modern day things now. It knows when to be serious and it knows when to joke around. And the world and the ambience of Fable, The Lost Chapters, is just something I'm never gonna forget. That is a game that is going to stick with me for life. And that is, you know, pretty hard to find in modern media and just media in general. So I just wanted to talk about Fable The Lost Chapters in 2024. I absolutely love it. I'm just glad to release all of this creative juice gushing. Just release it all over Fable The Lost Chapters. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't care if it only gets 100 views. I'm glad that I could talk about it. Thanks for watching. Peace out.